I'll share a misconception around productivity. We're going to get your hot take on whether or not it's true and just your general thoughts on it.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So, myth number one, digital tools will automatically improve team performance.
Whoa, oh, that's a fun one and I say fun one on this because technology is really awesome to show just how bad your processes are. I always tease, if you can't write it out on paper, please do not give it technology.
In just the past few years, we've seen an incredible transformation. The sudden shift to remote work during the COVID-19 pandemic, the evolution of hybrid workplaces, and now the accelerating impact of AI and technology on how we work. In this dynamic environment, we're feeling that pressure to work smarter, lead better, communicate more effectively, and collaborate to stay innovative and keep up with all of these changes. In this episode, we will learn some practical ways to confidently improve our productivity and support collaboration within our team using mindset shifts along with that technology. Here to guide us through this conversation and empower us with a leadership approach is Jamie Champagne, executive advisor and speaker, who has also had a session earlier this year at SHRM 25 in San Diego, speaking on this exact subject. Jamie, welcome to All Things Work.
Thank you, Anne, so much. I'm super excited to be here and talk about how we can get more value given this turbulent sea of change we're dealing with.
I'm really excited for that. And so we talked about how AI kind of really threw a wrench in a lot of maybe our 3 to 5 to 7 year plans. I'm curious from your standpoint, since you're coming with us with all this experience, what was the moment you realized you had to level up with AI, and did you feel ready for that moment?
That's a great question about when are you ready? And I'm not sure we really truly know. And for me, like what I teach a lot of others, it's about that business scenario. It became about that business value. It's like just because we can doesn't mean we should. It's like
Right.
everyone was playing with AI and you should be on Chat GPT. And I'm like, okay, I can. But to be honest, for me, it really clicked the moment, and it was a productivity moment. The moment I found and saw that an hour and a half of my time was just done in a matter of seconds with
Mhm.
an AI tool. But it was about getting the right tool and using it for the right way. Until that happened, it was a shiny object. It was something out there everyone's talking about, but no one was really being clear on what exactly it could do for me.
Organizations, like you mentioned, really want us to be AI natives where we just naturally integrate that latest technology into our workflows. And we'll get into that. But let's start with a simple process to cleanse, reset our minds. You call it now, next, later, and never method. Could you explain that framework? Let's break it down.
Sure. I like simple, but how many of us are super busy daily? Like we're busy working and we're working on a lot.
Hmm.
What the trick though is with productivity, it's about getting things done. And so if we're always working on stuff, how much are we getting done or delivered? That to take the chaos of day to day and think about what has to be done now. So like say before lunch, what do you have to get done before lunch? Let's do that. That's
Hmm.
our now.
Hmm.
Next is, all right, we have a little more time today. What could we get done next? And what needs to be put into later? And this changes daily because when I wake up today, what is now it becomes later when you open up the emails or you get a phone call, right? Now
Right.
that's the now. And getting comfortable because what you're doing, you're getting comfortable with change. What was my priority is now maybe later because I have a higher priority and things are going to change. And so that's what we want to do about productivity is reprioritizing, really, to be honest, daily, but keeping track of what we're still looking at, what's on our plate, and being comfortable that what I was going to get done today, that's okay if it's later because we have something more important. But then I'll come back
Hmm.
to that later when it does become more important. And the best trick to this, honestly, and probably the hardest part, is I would challenge you to put on there something in the never column. And maybe it's not never is or never ever. It's really not
Right.
now.
Mhm.
What is, kind of talking in your ear a little bit there, bugging you and going, we really should look at this. And you're like, yeah, we should, but not now. Let's save that
Hmm.
for a way later. And what we're doing though is that prioritization. And that's the trick here is are we working on the highest priority item that gives us the most value? For me, I love having this piece because I always challenge people and say, how many things are on my like to done list today? How many things
Hmm.
are in my now column? When I open up the laptop, I sit down at the computer, what's on the today? And for me, honestly, it's one thing. I start each day with one thing to get done. And you know what? Stuff happens. There'll be a day when the only one thing was to send you that email. I needed to get you
Hmm.
that email response. And come 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I still haven't sent you that. Wasn't because I was working. I was totally being busy and getting things done, responding to other things. But that one thing has got to get done before I leave here today, before I log off my computer. And
Hmm.
so that's where, like you say, I get one prioritized item and I can do other things, and other things will have to just wait till tomorrow because now I've got to send that email to Ann. If I don't get that out today, that was my one thing. And people are like, really? You only do one thing a day? I go, well, I get one thing done. And that's the part where tomorrow I'm going to come in with another one thing and I have a plan for it. Like tomorrow I'll work on that presentation. But it's okay if tomorrow morning I wake up and like, I've got to respond to this new request. That's going to be the
Hmm.
priority. Presentation will wait till the next day. And that's
Right.
okay. But that's where we get the feel on here is when things come in, is it more important than that one thing today to reshift? Or it's like, nope, got to get one thing at least done. You can still do a lot of other things, but get one thing done. And that's that value delivery.
We mentioned the COVID-19 pandemic in our introduction. It really shifted organizations to evolve, going to fully remote,
Mhm.
obviously, except for the essential workers. And then we shifted to this hybrid model to satisfy that need for flexibility, what everybody got used to. And now we're seeing some companies return to the office full time. So we know that that's a lot that we all went through in just a matter of years. So could you share some examples of simple ways we can use technology here to help us make us more productive and efficient regardless of that environment we're in? I know keeping that method in mind as well.
Now the question becomes is how easy is it for teams to participate? So as much as like getting something done, even that list, what are we working as a team on? Now, next, later. Do you have that in a shared collaboration space?
Mm.
That whether I'm in the office, I'm online, I'm working remotely, can I still access and know what the team's priorities are? And that what we start to do is realize that we need to treat everybody equally, knowing that everyone may participate differently. And what I mean by that is we can't use a whiteboard in the conference room if not everyone's going to be in the office.
Mhm.
Even though you're in the office, I need you to still jump online with the rest of us who are online.
Right.
So that we're starting to treat it equally. But that's what's great about the technology is we do have collaboration tools. Though it can't be like just information pushing tools. They need to be spaces that everyone can access.
Gotcha, gotcha. And so as technology evolves and the expectation for increased productivity grows, because we know it'll help us be more efficient in many ways, many of us also want to go beyond efficiency and move towards evolving into a leadership position. So, what are some innovative ways individuals at any level can demonstrate leadership in their day-to-day work, even in the hybrid or remote settings? There's a lot of factors playing here.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Constant change, right? Well, one of
Mhm.
my favorites is to always demonstrate the behaviors you expect of others. We can do this from any role and position. So that could be as simple. I know people talk of challenges with remote work. Not everyone turns on their camera. And it's like, well, is your camera on? Do you have audio? Are you calling
Mhm.
on people equally, like giving everyone a turn? Even if they totally agree, did you check that Crystal is okay with what we've said here today before we log off? That just a few things. Think about your day to day behavior and really think about those that inspire you to get excited about the work. Are you excited? Or are you inquisitive and unsure about what's coming tomorrow? Like, again, even going back to that now, next, later. being okay with the team and say, you know what, I realize later we don't know which day later that is. It's just kind of later, but at least I see it on the roadmap. And, I want to
Right.
share that roadmap with everybody else. So is everyone at least clear where we're going? Like a few of those things that you just do daily and become daily habits. That's some of the best leadership we can get from everybody on the team. Really model those behaviors you're looking for.
Yeah, so what I take away from that is really, having integrity in your job in general will make you great at your job, will make you a good worker, but it will also show you as a positive leader. Again, just having that integrity and caring about your job, and then also communicating effectively, communicating with your team. That also shows great leadership skills, no matter what level you're on. You don't have to be the director of comms. You could just be, associate specialist in comms. But if you're the one who cares and wants to communicate with your team, it shows that, oh, okay, maybe this person could take on this new project and lead the way on that one. So I would love to build on to the idea of how productivity and leadership intersect with some myth busting exercises. We've
Ooh,
done this kind of before in our episodes. So for this segment, I'll share a misconception around productivity. We're going to get your hot take on whether or not it's true and just your general thoughts on it.
sounds good.
Awesome. So, myth number one, digital tools will automatically improve team performance.
Whoa, oh, that's a fun one and I say fun one on this because technology is really awesome to show just how bad your processes are. I always tease, if you can't write it out on paper, please do not give it technology. This is the part there where like anyone who is playing with like your AI chat prompts, if you've ever gotten frustrated at it, you might need to pause and take a look in the mirror because who was giving it the prompts? So if you didn't get what you
Right.
wanted, it's about you asking better questions. So the part on there, I always tell if you can't write out on paper what we're trying to achieve, what the problem is we're solving, to go right to technology and expect it to understand. There's a difference between doing and understanding. That's where we might not have enough information and we'll have unmet expectations there. And so that's where I say technology can help, but think of it again as that tool, that aid, that speed, that enhancer, an assistant. Right now, I kind of think it's like an intern. I can give it instructions and explain things, but there's only so much I'm going to let my intern run loose with.
I think that's super, super important. This is where SHRM comes in with the AI plus HI, the AI plus human ingenuity, human intelligence side. You need that human aspect to direct the AI. Like you said, the
Absolutely.
intern. I love that. So, myth number two, multitasking makes us more productive. I have my own thoughts on this, but I'll let you go first.
Oh, yes. I always feel like I'm a multitasker. I always feel like there's lots going on. But then it's think about this is I'm gonna just come back and rather than a to-do list, a to-done list. That now, next, and later, like even coming back, that works because they're getting an item done. And I love sharing this because I know exactly why people are busy. They pick something off their to-do list and they work on that. They go back to the to-do list, pick something else up, work on that. A phone call comes in, we're gonna work on that. We got an email, we work on that. All day long, we're working. And if you look at your done column, what got done? Nothing, because you were working. And so that's the piece there where you can totally work on multiple things. You can have multiple assignments. I mean that happens, right? That's our reality. What the piece is though is which piece are you getting done? So I love people to switch their to-do list to done list.
So we've heard of everybody say work smarter, not harder. I have I have worked with people. I have been this person myself where I feel like, oh, I'm so busy because I'm multitasking. I'm doing 20 things at once. I'm trying to get things done. And so many people are coming up to me and oh my God, I'm so busy. And it almost makes me feel like important. But the problem at the end of the day is, am I actually being productive? And
Mhm.
so you may see someone take 20 phone calls at a time or send emails sporadically, but you really have to focus and ask yourself or ask, like your worker, okay, are we working smarter or harder here?
Yeah, and that's why you can see even like just our cute little exercise here with the now, next, later, not now. Asking your staff, are you working on the highest valued activities? We're working. But is that's what valued? And again, with all this change in environment, technology, workplace, all those changes going on, is this the highest value activity right now?
Okay, so myth number 3. Teamwork happens naturally if people are in the same space.
Oh, don't you love this question with all the how many times have we been on the Teams or the Zoom call and there's no cameras? And I love it when you ask a question and there's absolutely no response. You can bring a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And so, again, the part here is being clear that just because you put teams together doesn't mean, like you say, amazing things just instantly happen. That's where we have outcome driven focus. What's the purpose? Do you even need a vision? Where are we going and why is this important? If those questions aren't answered up front, whether we're in person, remote, hybrid, any format like technology is not going to help it. It's going to worsen it because it's going to point out what we're missing on there. And so with the teams, it's more about what's the point of having a team? Just like we say, why have a meeting if we could do it in email or a chat message?
Yep.
Asking that because
Mhm.
reality, we're busy people.
Mhm.
So if you're going to bring the team together, do they not only know why they're being called in, but what their role is on that? Those questions answered, then we can just, everything else is logistics. How do
Okay.
they best work? What do they best like? Notice again, I'm like, what is they, not just you? We have a lot of people in management positions. I call management different than leadership
Yeah.
sometimes. Managers often will like create a space and say, here, I created the space, go do the work. But if it's not clear what they're doing exactly and why them, why now, why is it being asked, it will stall. It won't have that productivity feeling of a team that's charged with here's a mission. Here's A, we need B, make it happen. What do you need to
Mhm.
make it happen? And I think, again, there's one more great question the leadership. What do you need to make this happen or be successful? Or what roadblocks are blocking you from making this happen? Those
Mhm.
are great
Mhm.
questions. So then teams will be wildly successful when you bring them together.
And speaking of teams, I'd love to shift our focus to how technology can help improve that collaboration, but also how it may also hinder it. You touched on it a little bit. Let's dig a little deeper here for this segment. We're going to call it connection or correction, and where I'll share some common workplace scenarios. We're going to get your input on if it's positive and reinforces connection or if it's actually an opportunity to do better. Okay, so scenario number 1, for hybrid or remote teams that meet virtually, like you kind of brought up already, you require everyone in the meeting to have a mandatory cameras on. Like you said, everybody has it can't just be one person or the other. So, Jamie, do you see this as a move that really genuinely supports teams connection or does it kind of hinder that collaboration?
This is the part I'll be a good analyst and say, well, it depends. This is one of those ones where, again, I like to step back a little bit and say, why are the cameras needed? So again, you might need to step back and say, what are you looking for from participation? Because if it's participation, can they fully participate via chat? Like if they're active in chat, they're responding, they're doing reactions. Is that just as participatory as the person has their camera on, but they're staring at their second monitor the whole meeting? Do you feel is it you want people to feel engaged, that people care? And so, I've run like even today was doing more trainings online, and some people they don't have their cameras. You can ask it, you can demand it, you can do it. Doesn't mean they're doing it. And so that's the part where what I'd really like to think about is what was the activity I want them to happen? And maybe it's not so much a force piece. I think that's the other part here because we have the technology, we want to force it. Okay, everyone on camera, we can see everyone's in chat. You want to force it. Well, it's okay. I recommend it. Some people don't, but we did an activity and I said, well, can you share to the camera, like your picture? Can you grab something nearby and show it to me, Anne? I'd love to see it in person, show it up to the camera. Well, then people turned on their cameras to show the exercise. So they were totally connected, they were vested, but they just didn't want their camera on earlier. And that was their comfort level.
I would say some people are more comfortable with that, or even honestly, we've had people who maybe they were sick with a cold and they didn't want to see people blowing their nose 24/7, but they really wanted to pay attention, but they didn't want to be a distraction to people. There's always like small reasons left and right, and like you said, it depends on the scenario, and the company and the team. So Let's jump into scenario number 2. After an initial brainstorm meeting where deadlines and action items were discussed, a follow up meeting is put on everyone's calendar to talk about the updates, any questions, and next steps the following week. So, no need to clutter everyone's inbox and complicate the conversation because everybody's got so much to do. Thoughts on this scenario?
This is the part again, and like you say, we're really hitting the nail on the head here. What are you
Yeah.
trying to accomplish with whom and why?
Hmm.
That's the piece there that I'm a big fan. I tell people there is an actual decline button on those meeting invites. I know it doesn't seem like it, but there is one. And so, like, if you're going to get people together, what's your desired outcome? By getting us together, what are we going to do? Because then if you write that out and you say, what are we achieving today? We're going to meet today. What are we achieving? Well, everyone will go around and update their status. Well, that's what we're doing. What are we achieving? If we just want to know what other people are working on, can a status board or some sort of, like you said, team chat work? It can totally work. And I think that's the part where, I'm not sure email's really a communication method so much as just an information push and pull method. So how are you actually communicating? And so that becomes the piece there. Is that the goal? Do we want to communicate? This is where I always kind of step back. What's the purpose? And if I don't know the purpose, like you invited me to a meeting, sounds like fun, but I got a plate full of stuff to get done over here. So I might decline and say, just CC me on the results. I don't need to be there for the whole meeting, or yeah, let me know how it goes. I'm interested in the outcome, not the actual session. Those might be some questions to really consider, and that frees up space to get more done.
It does. Yeah. Talk about efficiency. So, third scenario, the team rotates digital shout outs at the end of each week, recognizing contributions using a shared chat or video message. Now, the question here is this practice enough to really build those connections and team morale?
The part here where what works for the team, where I really appreciate the organic celebrations, the organic, sharing and communication. And it's hard because that can't be forced. You can't just demand it and expect it. And I think that's the challenge is when we demanded and expected that, like it becomes a thing. We can't leave the meeting until somebody shares out something good. Well,
Mhm.
now it's a pressure. Now it's a burden. It's not like something that we want to do or just happens. And so, where I would say, those may not be the best for some groups. It really does depend. If it feels like a mandate, then I think you might hit some challenges. But then there is other opportunities. So, like one of the things I love to do, as busy as we are, if I said, why don't you come with me, Anne? And I'd like you to come join this meeting. I just want you to watch how I run this meeting. Like, don't worry, you don't know about the
Right.
topic, but we're
Mhm.
going to play with whiteboards and digital sticky notes and watch how I can try to get them engaged. And by doing that, you get to come see me in action. You see some techniques, but then you also learn what I'm doing today or what I'm working on. And might be
Mhm.
of interest, maybe, maybe not. But then I might want to do the same thing, with you. You'd be like, Jamie, I need help with the note takers and managing the meeting, letting everybody in. I just want to run the meeting. Can you help with that? I'd be like, sure, I'll jump in. But I could see what's involved, what's going on, where's your focus. I can see a different technique. And that might be more valuable that to where at the weekly, it's no longer a status meeting. It's just a check-in meeting. Anyone, and anyone have concerns, things going well, just anything you want to highlight, that real, collaboration coffee chat, so to speak, rather than a status update. But you and I start chiming in. I got to see this in action. I never thought about that, but that was kind of cool.
Mhm.
And it
Yeah.
becomes more natural. And I think that's the only part where I worry a little bit when people force fun or force team building activity.
Can't force it.
Yeah, I think that word force there kind of delineates. So once we are demanding it versus a ritual that's expected of the team, and let them own it, I think that's the part where we get in a little challenge.
Gotcha. All right, so we actually have some questions, Jamie, from our All Things Work subscribers to get your expert insights. And for our audience tuning in, be sure you are signed up for our newsletter. Your thoughts could be featured in an upcoming episode. Okay, so Colleen from Canada submitted a question. She asked, what are some techniques to identify individual contributors that are high potential for management positions?
Ooh. Oh, I like this. And we said individual contributors. So that's the part where I'll challenge you and ask, Colleen, Where are you looking at what they're contributing? How do you know what they've got and delivered value? Because we have people who are busy. I have lots of people like help desk teams and call centers. They answer calls like crazy. Did they convert a customer that was going to leave our company? Did they help solve a problem of executive staff who was able to deliver that big sales pitch? You know, where is that value connection? And to me, I see that whereas people who are great leaders, they see the why behind what they're doing. And
Mhm.
so if you're looking for what are people producing, where do I know they are a high performer? How do I know it? They're not just busy, right? We've already just debunked that. No being busy. We have to be productive.
Right. Productive.
So how do you know they're producing? And then do they talk about that they're producing the highest value items to others? It's
Mhm.
that service for others is a great leadership quality. And then again, they're reprioritizing their work. They're rethinking which things matter more to the bigger team, to the larger organization, to our customer, our market, our industry.
Mhm.
Those ones are ripe for ready to go for more.
Awesome. And Colleen also asks, how do you balance providing flexibility and accommodations without sacrificing productivity and team unity? Really great questions here, Colleen.
Oh, there's some challenge in there. And so one of the biggest things, tell from a leadership and those working with teams, be clear on what and why. And so like, what are we doing and why do we need it? If there's a win in there, give a date. Dates drive results. Think about it. If I say, oh, I need something, next week, when are you going to work on it? You're going to give it to me at the end of next Friday, next week, if that, right?
Yeah.
If I say I need to close a business today, that's a different story. We'll have a conversation, and so give the dates on there, but tell me what and why, and then pause and don't tell me the how. Just say,
Hmm.
we need this by this date for these reasons. This is why we're talking about it today. What can you deliver? Now you've got the freedom and flexibility. You've let people take their own initiative, bring their
Mhm.
creativity to the table, and you've given them a box. So there's some control, there's reign, there's perspective there. They're not going off on their own,
Mhm.
but you've given them a nice feeling to what's in the box that now they figure out the best way to deliver that.
Okay, so Jamie, let's wrap up this conversation with one final question, peeking into the future and getting your insights. As more organizations are built with that AI first mindset, how can your framework that we mentioned earlier in our episode support team members to help them thrive through these ongoing technological changes while also staying productive, collaborative, and adaptable?
Oh, yes. And the simple thing you can see here is prioritization. But again, that prioritization on productivity. And here's one piece where, like you say, just because I can doesn't mean I should be doing it. We can
Mm,
use that in our day to day prioritization. But now that same piece is now it needs to apply to technology. Just because I can do it, could somebody else? And so maybe we
yeah.
don't all have interns or team members that report to us that we could
Mhm.
delegate.
Mhm.
But then the same part, well, just because I can do it, could we automate it with the system? Maybe it's just automation. It's not even AI. It doesn't have to be fancy. But being mindful that everything you're doing, even sending email replies, scheduling meetings, see, that takes time. And that part to where, what should I be working on now? I shouldn't be scheduling meetings about this other project. I need to get something done now.
Yeah.
Let's do that. And I think that's the mindset now where we want to embrace technology, but for the right reasons. Is you have to start with just paper and pen and say, am I working on the right things for the right reasons at the right time? That's my now, next, and later piles. Then for each one, as you work on it, ask and say, could technology help me do this faster? Is there an easier way to do this? And maybe I do need to ask somebody else and collaborate a little bit. But for each piece, if we all did that, we'll have exponential value in what we can actually deliver.
Awesome, wonderful, and thank you so much, Jamie, for your thoughts today, your methods, just putting it into real life, day-to-day experiences to help us work smarter, not harder, especially in the AI technology phase that we are in. So thank you so much for joining us today on All Things Work as well.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
All right, that's gonna do it all for this week. We'll catch you next time. If you enjoyed our conversation today, be sure to subscribe wherever you enjoy your podcast so you never miss a new episode. Also, did you know All Things Work is more than a podcast? That's right, we're also a weekly newsletter that includes in-depth articles and the latest research from SHRM to keep you in the know. Just head to shrm.org/allthingswork to sign up. Plus, follow SHRM on social media to view the latest clips and join the conversation on game-changing topics that are redefining the world of work.
SHRM.